Yo. What's good, man? This is your boy at DFS Mastermind _ over on Twitter. Thank you for clicking on the video. Today's date is December the 6th. We have a 10-game slate we need to talk about, man. What I want to do the player breakdown, go through position by position, and give you a few locks, man. People that I'm leaning on heavy early this morning. Now, of course, some of these plays are liable to change. We're still waiting on tons of injury news, but I think I got a pretty good idea of the slate so far, so I want to go ahead and put this video out. All right, starting off with Kyrie, I think he's going to be too much for me. You couldn't ask for a better matchup taking on Dallas, but 8,900 is just going to be a tad bit too expensive for me, especially for a guy who normally gets 4x, man. Like at that price tag, I'm going to do the quick math for you. 89, doom. He's looking at 53 fantasy points, man. And that's a lot to ask. If you go back and look at his game log, he hasn't had one of those since last month on the 20th, man. So I think he's going to be a little bit too expensive for me. I'm going to kind of stay away from him. Moving on, we got Kemba Walker, 8,200. Excellent explosive game that last game, taking on Golden State. No Curry in this matchup. I think Kemba should eat. I know he'll be very highly owned, especially coming off that monster performance. So I'm going to kind of stay away from him, but Kemba is definitely in play. Dennis Schroeder, I actually love Dennis Schroeder at this price tag. 8,100, taking on taking on Orlando. Elf on the shelf, man. Excellent ball player. On the defensive end, he tends to struggle, man. He just cannot get it done. And we know Schroeder is getting the usage, taking tons of shots, man. I don't mind using Schroeder. He's pretty much a lock for me. I don't want to lock him in right now, but I can almost guarantee that Schroeder will make my final cut. Moving on, Elf on the shelf, equally as good matchup, taking on Dennis Schroeder defense. This game should be a fast-paced game. Right now it's at a 217 over-under, so I think that's something that we can look at, man. I like both of those point guards. Eric Bledsoe, taking on Detroit. Now, Detroit is a very, very talented team, slow-paced team. But if you go back to the game log, just do a little game log searching. This was his best game. Now, of course, that could be inflated by the steals because he didn't put up that many points. The rebounding and assists were there. I don't mind the price tag, though. I think he's kind of cheap. This game should be very, very competitive. So Bledsoe would be on my radar. Chris Dunn is going to be too expensive for me, y'all. I can't do it. Darren Collison, I think he's okay, man. Taking on Chicago, 6,400. He's been playing pretty decent basketball, and he's super consistent, man. Not a high ceiling guy all the time, but I would say in cash games, if you're fishing for like a 30 to 35 point game, this is your guy, man. Austin Rivers, 6,200, taking on Minnesota. He's been playing his ass off, playing way above his head. I think he's in a good spot. 6,200. This matchup just happened, actually. The last game they played was against Minnesota. He dropped a 43 burger, man. So he's definitely on my radar. Same thing with Jeff Teague. I believe he's in play. Rondo, his price is getting up there. I would love to see him play 30-plus minutes. He hasn't reached that. But versus Denver, very, very solid matchup. Couldn't ask for a better matchup. So Rondo's definitely in play, especially with no AD, man. He has to do a lot more. He's getting double-doubles almost every game since AD has been out, so you can definitely look at him. Dragic, I think he's A-okay. The price dropped a ton, man. I know San Antonio is a great defensive team, but this guy can reach his value tonight. That's just how I feel. Not really too much to back that up, besides I know who Gordon Dragic is, and I know that he'll have a good matchup. Whether it's Tony Parker, Patty Mills, or DeJounte Murray, he should be able to take advantage. So I like Gordon Dragic tonight. Reggie Jackson, y'all know that's not my cup of tea. I actually think Dennis Smith Jr. is in a fairly good spot. I used him last game, had a pretty decent game. He's back, man. He's gonna see these 30+ minutes. He's gonna see his shots. He's A-OK. Jamal Murray, I think he's in play as well, taking on Rondo defense. Very cheap price tag. He's shooting the ball a ton. This guy is very scoring dependent, man. So just keep that in your mind. If he's not scoring 20+ points, he's not going to get you 30 fantasy points. So just keep that in your mind. Not going to do a lot with the rebounds, steals, blocks, none of the peripheral stats. But I think it's a fast-paced matchup, pretty decent game. So I wouldn't be totally against playing him. Now this is where it gets interesting, man. Down to a little bit of value. I think Fox and Hill and Mason are all going to be in play, man. I think they're going to need all hands on deck to come close to beating these Cleveland Cavaliers. Frank Mason, it took me a long time to figure out this team's rotation, but he is actually the backup point guard. And then you got Buddy Hield. Then you got Fox. He starts at the shooting guard now. So for a long time, I thought Hill and Fox time on the court depended on one another, but that's not the case, man. We see that Frank Mason is the backup point guard. I don't know why it took me so long to figure that out, but I think all three of these guys are in play. If I had to pick one, I would actually say George Hill, man. Sounds crazy, the oldest guy, but he's a savvy vet, man, and I think he could actually crush his price tag, $4,500. He's pretty much a lock for me as well. If this game stays close, I know Hill and Zebo, they're going to have to do a lot, man, like straight up. And then they're going to have to lean on some of these young guns. So that's why I mentioned Fox and Mason. You can look at Buddy, Bogdanovich. There's so many bodies in that on this team's rotation. But, I like him. And the last guy I like is going to be Tyler Johnson. His price is way too low, man. I think with the algorithm, they factored in San Antonio's defense, and that's why Dragic and Tyler Johnson are dirt cheap, man. I don't think we'll ever see these guys this cheap again. So if you wanted to play them, man, just off a price mishap, I wouldn't mind doing that, man. Last guy I got to talk about, I know I said he was the last guy, but I got to mention Sean Livingston. If he plays tonight, he should get the start, or it could be Patrick McCall. Both of those guys are questionable, so, you take your pick. But if I had to lock in one guy, man, my dude would be Dennis Schroeder. And then, of course, the old head, George Hill. Moving at shooting guard, Victor Oladipo, he's going to be too much. Steals and blocks are there. Apparently, this is in his guy's repertoire. This is what he does. I just can't pay that much for him, man. Maybe I'm stupid, but I just don't see him as a $9,400 player, man, for some reason. Lou Will, I think he's in play. He'll be very low owned. Everybody's going to say Jimmy Butler defense, but just look at the last game, man. Like, I keep trying to tell people, and it's not my spot to tell people, but in fantasy, it doesn't matter how good individual's defense is if your team defense is terrible and your team plays at a fast pace, because fantasy points will be allowed. Perfect example I always try to use, Draymond Green. When it comes to power forwards, he's one of the best on-ball defenders, but if you look at the stats and the rankings, Golden State is one of the worst teams at giving up points to power forwards. It's not because Draymond Green is not playing good defense, it's because of the pace of the game. Like, possessions are going to happen. So, I don't mind Lou Will, man. I really don't. I think he's A-OK. If I had to game stack, I'm going to give you two games to stack. It would be Minnesota and Clippers, and Atlanta and Orlando. I love both of those games for game stacks. Moving on, man, I really love Tyreke Evans in the Garden tonight, 7,600. Starting point guard. He's been doing his thing. Usage is through the roof. Chris Middleton is going to be a no for me. Will Barton is just too expensive. I'm going to avoid Drew Holiday simply off the fact that he'll be very, very chalky. I know everybody's going to chase that big performance he had. Klay Thompson is definitely going to be in play for me. Nicholas Batum defense is sticky. But like I was just saying, man, you cannot let that scare you off all the time. We know Klay Thompson can shoot the ball. Him and Kevin Durant should get a usage bump with no Curry, so I don't mind him. Gary Harris is definitely in play for me. We know his role is solid. We know what he's going to bring to the table. I've been riding this guy, Nicholas Batum. They finally gave him that price bump, man. Finally. After he came through with a good performance for me, man, I was super excited about that. I had a very good day 2 days ago, and Nicholas Batum helped me out. So he's still on my radar, man. Fast-paced matchup going up against Golden State. He should play the same role. We see he's playing that 30-plus minutes a game. That's what we love. Evan Fournier, he's in play for me, 6,400. I don't think it's going to be too many on-ball defenders that can stick with him, man. So Evan Fournier gets buckets if he's hot. He is a monster. D-Wade, if you want to play him off the bench, he's been crushing. I can't be mad at you. Not really my cup of tea. I absolutely love Andrew Wiggins, man. 6,100 taking on the Clips. I actually want to lock him in. He is one of my favorite shooting guards on today's slate. It should be a fast-paced game. Like I was saying, I'm thinking about game stacking this one. So I love that spot for Wiggins, man. Moving on, Deion Waiters is going to be a no for me. Justin Holiday, he's okay, man. 5,900. He's not a guy that'll probably make my lineup, but he's A-okay. Marcus Smart, 5,800. His price is going down a little bit. I want to wait till it takes one more price drop, and then we're going to hop all over Marcus Smart. We know he plays a safe role. Save minutes. You can even look at him tonight. I don't know why I'm afraid of that. Kent Bazemore is definitely in play for me. Probably my second favorite shooting guard, 5,500. Fast-paced game. Evan Fournier defense. You couldn't ask for a better matchup. Jeremy Lamb is going to be a no. No Barea for me. His price is just too high, man. I do like Avery Bradley, 4,900. Etuan Moore has been taking a ton of shots. Garrett Temple, he's one of those pieces who he's going to have to play a big role if this game stays competitive, so I don't mind him. Last but not least, out of the guys who I feel okay about playing, I would say Danny Green, man. I think he'll be very, very low owned. Sneaky play. We know he's going to see the minutes, man. They're missing a few pieces, so I think Danny Green would play a bigger role with no Anderson. I know last game I was trying to tell y'all Rudy Gay. And he came through in a big way, but his price jumped up, man. So we'll talk about him in a second. But Malcolm Brogdon, I think he's okay. Devin Harris is going to be a nah. Buddy Hield is okay. If the game is close, he could be in. If the game is a blowout, he'll be in. So I look for players like that for my punt plays, man. I think those are the perfect situation type players to hop on. J.R. Smith, we know he's a starter, 4,300, cheap price tag. He's okay. Bogdanovich, same thing as Buddy Hield. And after that, I'm not really intrigued with too much else. Last guy that just caught my eye, man, you got to say something about McLemore, especially if he starts again. He didn't play much last game, but if he's a starting shooting guard going into New York with no Hardaway, I think we could take a chance on him. If you want to punt, man, I don't mind that. Moving on to small forward, who we got? We got Giannis, man, Greek Freak, ABC. Man, it's his birthday today, so happy birthday to Giannis. I know the birthday narrative people are out there. They ready to play this man tonight. I think he's in a decent situation. Let me see what he did last time they played. Just to 47. That's not Giannis like. That's not great. But we know Detroit is a sticky team, man. Very, very sticky. I would much rather just go ahead and pay for LeBron James. Get my 50 points, man. Just play it safe. and get out of there, man. Like, we know nobody can stick with Bron. He's a matchup nightmare for this team, especially with no Willie Cauley-Stein. The only thing I would say is there is a serious potential for blowout, man. So you got to keep that on your radar. Now, Kevin Durant, I think his ownership should be pretty high today, especially with no Curry. Charlotte, man, they rank 28th as far as stopping small forwards. So we know Durant is in play. I don't know if I want to do it, man, just because of the ownership and the recent production. Now, I would be a fool to say, he's not in a good spot, because we couldn't ask for a better situation. No Curry, so we know he'll take more shots. Excellent matchup as far as paper. 10 racks, affordable price tag. I think he's in a good spot. The only thing, if he's highly owned and you're playing in these large tournaments, the man is really gonna have to go off for him to set you apart. From him to set you apart from the people who faded him. Like, if he's like at a 40% ownership percentage and he only gets, let's say, 45, a lot of other people, the other half of those people who didn't play Kevin Durant, they're going to have a real chance at beating you, man, because you're going to be stuck in that pool. Now, if you faded him and he goes for 60, it's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough. But I think that's the question. Do you think Durant is going to get 60 tonight? Because that's where it could really start hurting you, especially when you factor in the ownership. If you get 40% of people who got 60 points out of one player, it's going to be tough to catch up. I'm kind of in the middle, man. I think he can do it. But the recent performance has really got me thinking, I don't know if I want to, man. I really don't. I don't know. We'll have to continue to think about that as the day go on. But a guy that I feel very good about is going to be Jimmy Butler taking on the Clippers. I'm telling y'all, I love this game, and I think he's in an excellent spot, 8,900. And what we're seeing, he's becoming the leader of this team. Towns is kind of taking a back seat. And he is just doing his thing like he's in Chicago, man. So I don't mind Jimmy buckets. Harrison Barnes is definitely in play. We know if there's one spot where Boston struggles, it's going to be with the small forward position. They do not have a true small forward. They lost Hayward, man, so they're still feeling that void, man. So I think Harrison Barnes is definitely in play. Gallinari, even if he plays, I'm going to stay away from him. Rudy Gay, he should be okay, man. I don't like that price tag, though. He went up too much for me. Jonathan Simmons, I absolutely love him in this matchup. Fast-paced matchup. This is where he thrives, man. If he can get steals, get in the open court, easy layups, man, that is where he thrives. And one thing I noticed about Jonathan Simmons, I've watched so many Orlando games for some reason. Whenever he starts off the game very hot, he gets aggressive, man. He gets into attack mode. He starts going to the basket, drawing fouls, getting easy free throws. And that's one thing you love, man. With the 58 price tag on him, I don't mind this play at all, man. I really don't. Atlanta is one of the worst defensive teams on the slate in the NBA. So I don't mind Jonathan Simmons at all. Now, Jaylen Brown, I think he's okay. Very cheap price tag. We know he's explosive. Prince, same situation as Simmons. Only difference is Prince, man, he doesn't shoot a lot. Now, if we could get him shooting 15 times a game, the man will be crushing his value all the time, man. He does all the peripheral stats just like Simmons. I think he's an A-OK play. Courtney Lee, I don't mind Courtney Lee tonight. Not my favorite play. Probably won't have too much exposure. I don't even think I'll have any exposure, but I don't mind him. Valentine is A-OK. Bogdanovich is all right. Richardson is a no for me. Chandler, man, he's very, very cheap. Taking on New Orleans. Played 27 minutes last game. I think he could be interesting, actually. He just hasn't been doing it this year, man. He's been getting so many dead minutes. That's one thing we hate to see. But Wilson Chandler last year was a beast, man. He was a monster. So if you need a filler play, man, if you wound up with 4,800 left, I don't mind Wilson Chandler. Besides him, I'm going to be off of Johnson. No Cunningham for me. No Stevenson. No Johnson. No Brooks. No Parsons. Now, these next two players are very interesting. Darius Miller's been seeing the minutes. He's very three-point dependent. If he's hitting his shots, he can crush his price tag. And then we got Nwaba coming back off of the injury. Played 16 minutes last game. Huge letdown spot. But I think in this situation, even if it's a blowout, he will get extended run. And we know he's in the rotation. This coach loves this guy, man. Like, before he got injured, he was starting. He took over that starting role. Very multi-tool type of player, so I don't mind Nwaba. Now, the guy that I'm going to have in all of my lineups is going to be Iguodala, man. I don't know if I'm going for Durant. I'm still thinking about it. I could do Iguodala and Durant because Charlotte, they struggle versus small forwards. I think with no Curry, we're gonna see Iguodala play a lot of the point guard role, man. I think he's going to be the one in charge of setting up the offense, bringing the ball up the court at 4 racks. I do not mind his price tag at all. He had a few days of rest, came back. I was all over him versus that New Orleans. When he played New Orleans, he hit value, man, crush value. Raises price tag $200. I still don't mind it. I think it's an even better situation with no Curry, man. So I want to lock him in. Hey, especially if we get news that Patrick McCall and Stevenson are out, Livingston, I'm sorry. Livingston are out. We have to load up Iguodala, man. I'm telling you. Moving on to power forward, there's a lot of guys to be liked. Porzingis, man, taking on Memphis. I think he has a mismatch advantage. Green is just not going to be big enough to slow this man down. And then if they want to put Gasol on him, he's not going to be quick enough, man. I think we see an explosive game from Porzingis in the Garden. Gordon, I don't like his price tag, but I absolutely love the matchup. Atlanta cannot slow down any power forwards, and all their big men are banged up. I think this is a beautiful spot for the boy Gordon. The price is just a lot, man. Like, at this price tag, he's literally going to have to be on fire. Like, he's going to have to shoot the ball well the whole time he's in. The whole game. And that's one thing I don't know, man. When you see those blow-up games, he was really, really crushing on the point side of things, like 40 points, 29 points. That's amazing. And then you see the same production, as far as the peripheral stats are still there, but you see the points at 10 and 14. That's just not going to cut it, man. He was just missing shots. Not like he had a terrible game, just missing some of his shots. Now, I do think if this man could get like 25 real points, he would get it. He would get to his price tag. And Atlanta defense, I'm not scared of that. So I think he's definitely in play. LA versus Miami, dude. Look, LaMarcus Aldridge, in slow-paced games, this is where he thrives. I think this is a matchup to target LaMarcus Aldridge, man. Real talk. They're going to start off the game with Winslow on them. I don't see that lasting for too long. Then they're going to bring in James Johnson. He's a little handsy. I can see him getting in early foul trouble. Maybe they go to Olynyk. What I'm trying to say is I don't see a way that Miami can slow down LA. So he's definitely in play. Draymond Green, absolutely love it. 8,200, no Curry. I'm telling you, man, he's been crushing. Like, he's looking like the old Draymond. I was all over him in that last game, man. I was super excited as soon as the game started, I knew, like, once he got that first tech, I was a little nervous. But once he kind of calmed things down, man, he had a beautiful, beautiful game. And I think that happens again tonight, man, versus Charlotte. Marketing is going to be a no for me. I love Tobias Harris, 6,300, taking on Milwaukee. I think it's a good spot. Last time they played, let me just do a quick check. ooh, 18 points. Yikes. Man. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to see that. But anyways, man, we can't base everything off game log. But listen, the reason I like him is because I don't know if he's going to get matched up with, I think he'll be Giannis, man, if I'm not mistaken. But I think, real talk, I think Tobias has the type of attitude. He could just take Giannis to the post, man. If he can get his shot off, if Giannis is not blocking everything, which I'm sure he's not because, this is a professional athlete. I think Tobias Harris could eat, man. I think it'll be a very competitive game. And if this game stays close, he's going to have a big part of that. So I don't mind, Tobias Harris. Thad Young, I think he's in play. Zebo is definitely in play for me. I keep referring back to it. If this game stays close, he's going to play a big part. I actually don't mind locking him in. I think versus Cleveland, man, Jay Crowder's just not going to be able to stick with him. I don't know who they're going to put on him, man. Maybe Bron. That would be a tougher matchup. Maybe Kevin Love. But I imagine they will have Scala Bicier in or Kufis. So I don't see Crowder being able to deal with neither one of those guys. I just know to start off the game, Zebo will be going to that elbow. He will be getting his jumpers off. 5,900. I don't mind the price tag. I'll actually go. I'm gonna lock Zebo in, man. I really am, dude. I think he's already been on my list. And I love the matchup, man. If this game has any shot at staying competitive, he will play the biggest part in that, man. So I don't mind him. Below him, I love Tatum. Think he's in an excellent spot. Same thing with Taj Gibson. Kenneth Farida's A-OK. John Henson is going to be a no for me. I always love Kelly Olynyk and James Johnson with no Whiteside. Ilyasova, he should be okay in this matchup. Green is going to be a no for me. No Sabonis. I don't want any Dirk. I don't want any Beasley. I don't want any Morris. No Trey Lyles. I do think Jeff Green is in play. 4,600. He should be okay. No Powell. I don't mind Portis in this spot. I don't mind Marvin Williams. Below them, I'm not seeing too much more. Of course, if we get injury news, is Scala Bicier. Okay, he is a power forward. Now, if you got a punt play, we know it's going to be no Willie Cauley-Stein, so we're going to have to see how the rotation happens. But what I imagine happening is going to be three bodies. It's going to be Zebo, Kufis, and Scal, and they're going to split most of these minutes, man. They're going to just divvy them up. So we could see Scal at a little center. We could see Zebo at a little center, but I'm pretty sure Kufis will start off the game. But with this injury, it opens up some time for this young man on the court. Last year, he was just dominant. This year, he still has the same skill set, just has not been seeing the minutes. So I don't mind Scala Bicier for a punt play. Moving on to center. Big Boogie Cousins is in play going up against Denver. I love Andre Drummond. Mark Gasol, he's going to be – he's okay, actually. He's okay. I was about to say he's going to be a no. But, and his counter defense, man, you can't ask for a better matchup at the center spot. The man is a beast at rebounding and scoring the ball, but defense, he just does not care. So Mark Gasol is going to be in play. Big Towns, I absolutely love. Kevin Love, I absolutely love. I got three centers, y'all, and they're all right here. It's Towns, Love, and Vucevic. These are my favorite three centers. Right now I'm leaning towards Towns because I'm thinking about game stacking this Minnesota Clippers game. But I also am thinking about stacking this Atlanta-Orlando game. I think if you want to just pay up a little bit for center, you should land on these three guys. And I even could include Marc Gasol in there. But these are the three guys I really have my eyes on. K-Love, man, beautiful matchup. It don't matter who's on him. He should have the advantage as far as getting to the bucket and scoring the basketball. Vucevic, nobody in Atlanta can stick with him. We know if this man starts off the game decent, he will take over. I look for all of these players to score 25-plus real points. points in their matchups today. So you take your pick, man. Those are my top 3 centers. And to be honest, I'm not really looking at anybody else, man. I don't care. Punt play, if you wanted to go down to Kufis, boom, you could do that. But those are my top plays for today. Hopefully this video was helpful. I want y'all to comment, like, subscribe. All my day ones, hit that notification bell. Bless up, let's get it. Hit me up on Twitter if you have any questions, you want to chop it up about a lineup. Let me know, man. I will be available all day, so let's get to it, man. Get to the green line.